Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Your Blank What Now podcast. My name is Marcy Nettles, and I am your host. And I am really excited about this episode today because I have recently kind of revamped my environment and the community of people that I'm hanging out with. And proximity is power. And when you get to know the right people, you get introduced to the right people. And I really feel like I have one of those right people here for you to hear from today, because this podcast is all about breakdown to breakthrough stories, someone that has been in the depths of it, but made a choice to change his life. And he's going to share his story with you. So I'm excited to introduce Andre Norman. He is a reason to believe in second chances. From growing up with a tumultuous home life to giving up on all of his dreams, Andre's idle time ultimately led him to gang life, which earned him an over 100-year prison sentence when he was only in high school. Realizing that he was the king of nowhere, Andre started to conceive a plan to get out of prison and attend Harvard University. Armed with a GED and a changed mindset, Andre walked out of jail on November 15th, 1999. Today, Norman is an international speaker, best-selling author, and highly sought-after advisor, helping corporations improve how they deal with social justice issues. He is also the nation's leading violence interrupter, assisting city and state governing officials to decrease violence in their communities. Andre Norman is called on to inspire change and be an approachable voice on how our differences can be our greatest strength. So, Andre, I would absolutely love to welcome you to the What Now Tribe. And your story being shared with them is going to be an amazing opportunity for each one of us. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hey, people, what's good with you? We are in the building.
Yes, we are.
We are not remote. This is not a trick. We are officially here.
We are officially here, and I'm dropping stuff all over the place, and that's not good. But oh my gosh, and I do want to make that a point because you did make it a priority to come and be here in person with me. And I absolutely love the way that the timing worked out to where you would be here in Phoenix, not normally where you're at, and we were able to make it happen. So thank you for that.
I got a simple motto: show up. I mean, you can find all the reasons not to show up and all the reasons to be busy. When somebody calls you and they ask you to be helpful, they ask you to lend a hand or whatever they ask you to do, the best thing that you can do is just not do it, but show up. So I could have done this remotely from a million places, or I could find a way to find my way here. And so, given the option of being remote or being live, I want to be here with you.
Well, I appreciate that so very much. And that's another thing that's probably different from when you were younger, a younger child. You are the absolute perfect example of how you can make the choice to change yourself, to change your life. Because your childhood was not simple and easy. You had a lot going on in your childhood and a lot of interesting dynamics to your family that you earned yourself that 100-year sentence. Can you share with What Now Tribe, more about your childhood and what led to that?
Well, I never called it interesting.
Well, it's kind of interesting to me.
It's interesting to other people, right? But for me, it wasn't interesting. It was kind of like painful. My mom married a high school sweetheart. She had 2 kids. Her husband goes to jail for robbing banks. She meets my dad, a local hustler, has 4 more kids. So his mom, dad, 6 kids living in the house. But my dad, big guy, I'm 6'2", 280. My father's 3 times my size. And he used to have a habit of beating my mom, which was often. So I grew up in a house watching what we call now domestic violence. In the 70s, it was called handling your household. It wasn't called domestic violence. So you get through that, and you finally get old enough to go to school. I'm going to school, love playing, love school. Thousands of kids, play every day, had a great time. And I came home from school one day on the bus, and kids started throwing rocks at us and calling us niggers because it was a busing crisis in Boston. And judge said white kids and black kids go to school to make the world a better place. But he never called me and told me what I was in store for. We go through that. That starts, that ends. My mom finally gets tired of the beating. She puts dad out. Now single mom, 6 kids living in the city. And it's not going well. We bounce around. They find out 3rd grade, Andre's illiterate, a thing called a dummy class. They put me in the dummy class, they closed the door, and that was going to be my life. But a teacher intervened and took me out of the dummy class. She taught me my learning style. She said, you don't learn like the other kids. You're not dumb. You just learn differently. And Miss Oliver did me a great favor and taught me how to learn the way I understood it. By middle school, I figured out I'm poor because mom doesn't have stuff. And the other kids in the sixth grade told me about what I didn't have. In elementary school, nobody said anything. Middle school, they told me I had the wrong jeans, had the wrong hat, had the wrong coat, had the wrong bag, had the wrong socks, had the wrong everything. And I was a free lunch kid, which made it 10 times worse. So I started selling weed in the park after school to make money. I made like $30, $40 a day, but it was enough to buy clean socks, new jeans, coats, hats, the stuff that I needed. And it put me on that track. That one little thing, $30 a day, which supplemented my life, turned into a career.
Mm.
And I got on that track of negativity. And I always say, if you get on the street, I don't care how fast or slow you walk, you're gonna reach your destination. I got on a negative street and I wound up in court. They started reading off sentences: 7 to 10, 2 9 to 10s, 2 10s, 2 15 and 20s, a 5. Put me in a van, drove me to prison, and dropped me off.
Wow. Wow. I'm just amazed at that. And yet it makes sense, right? I mean, because like you said, as you were young and you were in the circumstance of the example that you had in with your mother being abused the way she was being abused. And so you didn't really see your mom asserting herself until she finally did, right? And got you guys out of that. But then that put you in the circumstance of not having what all the other kids had and separating you. And every child at that age, really, I think the main thing is that they want to feel like they fit in.
Sixth graders are the meanest people on the planet.
I agree.
Bar none.
I agree. And it's over the stupidest stuff too. But it's really where people start. It's like that pecking order. I think that pecking order really starts to come into play at that sixth grade age, where if you can make someone feel less than and you were the one that had the power over them. Do you think that that had anything to do with you wanting to be able to take more control of your life?
I mean, nobody wants to be made fun of.
No.
If nobody would have made fun of me, I'd have been fine. I'd have showed up every day to school, went to school, went about my business. But when kids critique you and harass you and, lack of a term, bully you and just give you a hard time, you're trying to get from under that. I wasn't trying to change me. I was trying to get away from the ridicule.
Yeah.
So the ridicule, which is what I didn't like. I didn't mind being poor. I've been poor my whole life. I didn't know it. But people made me feel bad about being poor. It made me feel bad about not having. And that's the feeling I was trying to get away from.
Yeah. And so buying socks with that extra $30 to $40 a week, or the coat when it was cold. Where were you guys living at this time?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh my gosh, a coat's kind of important, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Winter boots help.
Yeah.
Going to school in sneakers in the wintertime in Boston is not fun.
No, definitely not. Cold toes is never a good
It's
time.
not cold toes.
Frozen.
Wet toes. They get frozen and they thaw out, and you walk around all day with wet feet. Not a good look.
No, it's not. It's not. And so you got introduced to marijuana and selling marijuana.
I didn't smoke. I just sold it.
Yeah. Okay. And where did that progress to, or was it always marijuana?
I started out selling. We started out, the older kids would sell weed in the park. We were little, sixth graders. So our job was to run across the street and get like 20 bags of weed and bring it back and give it to them. We were like runners. We weren't dealing with customers. We just run back and forth across the street and get the packages of weed and give it to the guys. That's why I get like $30 a day. See you later, bye. We started there. Then it just progressed to hanging around older kids doing negative stuff. Then you start seeing it and you start adapting to it. So now we're carrying knives, then we're carrying guns, and then we're like tough guys, and then we're in stolen cars, and it just keeps progressing.
Yeah. How old were you when you found yourself fully in basically immersed in a gang?
Probably 15.
15.
In the ninth grade, my friends talked me out of playing the trumpet. I used to play the trumpet. My friends told me it was stupid. Black kids don't play the trumpet. It's a waste of time. It's not cool. So I gave up my trumpet. I've been playing since sixth grade. When I gave up my trumpet, I gave up my dream. I gave up my dream. I gave up my purpose. Then after that, it was over. So I had a fighter's chance up until I gave up my trumpet.
Wow. A dream is a powerful thing.
Growing up in the city poor is horrible. People have done it and made it. Growing up without a dad, horrible. People have done it and made it. Growing up without a dream, not going to happen.
No, it's not. When you don't have that purpose there, what you're looking forward to, then any old thing will do.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So you found yourself with or earned yourself this 100 years. When you entered into the prison system, what was life like for you first when you first got in there? And then how did it progress as your influence progressed in prison?
When I got off the bus, I was scared to death. There's no other way to put it. I was terrified, horrified, paranoid, schizo. I was just like, I want to go home. If crying would have got me home, I'd have cried. But crying in prison doesn't work.
No.
So there's no sorry papers to sign. So I'm just there terrified. Then they take me down to general population, to orientation, you put you in there with like another 45 guys and they say good luck. And you don't know what to do. So you try to get in when you fit in. Luckily for me, there was a guy there's from my neighborhood. The guys from my neighborhood knew my older brothers and older sisters. They kind of picked me in and say, yo, you with us. And then they taught me the prison rules. You don't talk to white people. You don't talk to Spanish people. You don't talk to the guards. You don't talk to black people from the other side of town. You only deal with us. We're your team. We're your family. We're your tribe. And this is what we do. So you come into an extremely segregated system and you're stuck in your tribe. And that's what that is. And then you have 2,000, 3,000 people who are traumatized, probably addicts, alcoholics, messed up in life, depressed, all in one building every day. Recipe for disaster.
And a bunch of different groups that are thinking exactly the same way as you and your tribe were,
Yeah.
is that we've got to look out for ourselves. We got to stick to ourselves. We got to do whatever it is to protect each other, all in the same building.
In the same building. So what happens is there's a 40-foot wall erected around the building. Everybody's in there. Everybody has their variation of trauma and why they got there, which is even white, black, or Spanish, generally the same issue. And then you wake up every day and you just find a reason to fight. Because everybody's girls talk, women talk or shop, men fight. So we wake up and you're looking for an excuse to fight every day.
Yeah.
It's how we don't, I'm not gonna sit down and have a conversation about me being upset about my dad not loving me, or my sister and what she went through, or my brother or him not being there. I get up, I'm angry, I internalize it, and I look to fight.
Yeah. So talking about those things, how much do you think childhood trauma played a role in you ending up where you were at?
Everybody in prison has childhood trauma.
Absolutely.
Now, it's not the sole reason you go to prison, but having childhood trauma undiagnosed or unresolved will take you to prison. And then the other, wait a minute, Andre, everybody's not in jail who had trauma. Well, they have horrible jobs, they're in horrible relationships, and they're in miserable situations. So prison isn't just the penitentiary where they send us. Sometimes I used to tell the girls when I talk to the girls, I said, prison for young girls is called Section 8 with 3 kids.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I mean, you're locked in this project, which looks like a prison minus the wall, and you have horrible food, horrible services, horrible everything, and your kids run around stressed out, and you can't do anything for them, and you're just stuck at the behest of the government or whoever else is in charge of whatever program you're in. So, prison for young girls in the inner city, Section 8 with 3 kids. Prison for somebody from the suburbs is getting a job in a career that your parents picked that you hated.
Yes. Yes.
Prison for some folks, middle class, is you marry some guy because you're supposed to marry him because you want to have sex, you want to have fun, so you got to get married. Now you marry some guy or girl that you didn't like, but it was a sex thing or a fun thing. Now you're 12 years into this with 3 kids and I don't like this person and I'm stuck.
So I think what Andre is saying, guys, is that if you are finding yourself in a position to where every dang day you have a hard time getting up, and every dang day seems to be exactly the same as the day before, and you're not finding a lot of hope or a lot of happiness, a lot of joy, or a lot of purpose in your life, then you just might be in your own prison
All
right
day.
now. All day.
Entrepreneurs, biggest prisoners. They lock themselves in their businesses. Solopreneurs are the worst. They lock themselves in their businesses all day long. They're locked in this little room trying to make this thing happen to make money, but they're locked in this little room by themselves. No attachment, no connection. They're just locked in this little space. And instead of trying to sell contraband, they're selling widgets, but they're locked into this little world all by themselves and they're not really happy. Most entrepreneurs, what they do when they get stressed out is start another business. They don't seek counseling. They just have money to start another business to distract themselves some more from whatever their problem is. Or they'll go to the bar and they'll drink. And it's okay. Drinking is acceptable.
To a point.
Right. I mean, it's unacceptable. Smoking crack is not acceptable.
Right.
So you can go out to the bar and drink a couple and this, or go home and drink as much as you want. And people are like, what's the big deal? But he's doing it, or she's doing it, to self-medicate. No different than the little 13-year-old kid in the city doing it to self-medicate.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. Some of the experiences that my husband and I have had just recently, we're able to unlock our vision on exactly who our abusers are. And what I found was that I may have sustained abuse events when I was a child, but ever since that day, telling the story over and over and
You signed on
thinking
to it.
about it, yep, I became my biggest abuser, right? And so making the decision that that story is not me anymore, up until last weekend, I was living that way.
Yeah.
But that's not who I am. And that's not the choice I make any longer. And that's the power in that, right? Is that if they're finding themselves in a prison, they really can make a choice to change things.
Can I give you my Muhammad Ali story?
Please go, baby.
2 little black kids in Louisville, Kentucky, back in the 40s. Poor kids living in the city. They start cutting grass in the summer so they can buy a bike. They cut grass all summer, they buy a bike. They're riding around and sharing it to 2 of them. They go to the movies. And while they're in the movies, they will leave their bike outside. Somebody steals their bike. They come out, the bike's gone. Little brother's irate. He's like, I want to beat the guy. This is horrible. I cut grass on somebody, stole my bike. The big brother's like, we can go to the police station and file a report. The whole walk to the police station, little brother's screaming and yelling about how he wants to beat the guy up. They get to the police station, they walk to the counter, they tell the guard, hey, I want to file a police report. The cop says, well, the guy that does that's downstairs. So they go down into this gym and they get in there and it's like a bunch of white cops training. They go find the cop, hey, who's officer such and such? He comes over, so what do you want? He says, somebody stole our bike and I want to report it. Now, this is the 40s. This is Louisville, Kentucky. This is 2 little black boys in an all-white police station. This cop could have said, beat it, and that'd have been the end of it. But instead, he heard him out. And then the little brother kept talking about wanting to beat the guy up. So he sees this little kid, highly upset, mad. He did the right thing, and now he's hurt. So the cop leaned down and said, listen, you want to beat him up? He said, yeah, I want to beat him up. He said, I got one question. He said, what, can you fight? What do you mean? He said, well, I find him, can you fight? And he was paused. He said, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put you in my boxing program. And if I find a guy, I'll let you fight him. Because I don't want you to get beat up when that happens. That'll be bad. They put his hand out. They shake hands. The little kid climbs into the ring. And out of that ring came Cassius Clay, an Olympic champion. Out of that ring came Muhammad Ali, a world champion. And he went on to become known as the greatest. Fought all kinds of battles in and out of the ring. And he became the people's champion. Mm-hmm. And when he died, the world stood still. They flew him home to Kentucky. They took his body around the city. World leaders and dignitaries from all over the planet flew to Kentucky and sat at his service. And he got the best homegoing of any American in history. If I could bring Muhammad Ali here right now and sit him in your chair, and I could bring the guy who stole his bike and sit him in this chair, I can assure you, Muhammad would not hit him. He would get up and walk across the room and he would shake his hand. He would say, brother, what you did was wrong and it upset me greatly. But what you did made me. Had you not stolen my bike, I'd have never found my way to the police station. I'd have never been that angry. I'd have never gave that cop a chance to give me grace and dignity, to give me a helping hand, to vent and channel my anger. What you did made me. Yes. So I want to thank you for what you did. He's never happy about it. But that event gave the world the greatest.
Amen.
Had there not been a bike thief, there would never been a Muhammad Ali. I don't know who did what to you, but it'll give you what they call energy. You can use that energy to propel yourself or drown yourself. If you channel it correctly, you can become the greatest. If you mismanage it, you'll become a sad soul.
Wow. You're killing me right now. I'm like, got these tears and,
let's not mess up the makeup.
No, I'm not worried about that, man. It's all good. I go to church on Sunday and I always wonder, why did I even put makeup on? Right. It's all good. But what a beautiful story and a perfect example of being able to look at the things that happen to us in our lives and having a different perspective or way of thinking about it. and looking at it as a gift instead of it being a problem or what was difficult for us, but understanding that we would not be who we are without all of these experiences.
We don't choose our path, but we can definitely choose the people we help with our journey.
Yes. Yes. And part of the helping is sharing the story. So thank you so much for being here to share it, because the smart people will get the curve, right? They'll get the learning curve and they'll learn from the things that we've been through and the things that we've done, but then also the choices that we made to get us out of it. I mean, when you were put into prison, about what level do you think you had of literacy? How well could you read? What level in school maybe
I
could you?
started going to school in the 3rd grade and I dropped out in the 9th. So I wasn't very proficient with education. Reading, writing, counting wasn't my thing. It's not how I moved. So I learned by watching because I was so far behind for so long. The only way I could learn was to watch somebody do something. I learned that way. And so I didn't say I hated reading. I just never read.
You didn't apply it. And that's the thing, is if we don't apply skills that we have, then we either lose our proficiency with them or it's just not the tool that it could be.
No, I couldn't read well.
Okay.
And I'm in a situation where I was scared to learn to read well around other people because it's a weakness.
Yes.
I can't, it's not a big deal, but I made it a big deal because I thought if these people could see me as not being able to read well, they're going to think bad about me. So I didn't try to learn because I didn't want to look bad.
Right. You didn't want to dime yourself out. You didn't want to tell on yourself and what,
I didn't want to expose myself.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't want to expose a weakness in me. Now, this particular weakness is irrelevant to anything else. I can fight.
Oh, absolutely.
But I said, if I expose this weakness, then it's just a sore spot. So I'm just going to pretend like I can read and I just avoid anything in that space. I just stick to the sports section.
And that served you how well?
It got me through the first 6 years.
Okay.
But the thing is, it didn't get in the way because my goals and dreams didn't need reading. My goals and dreams didn't require efficiency or comprehension. So my not being able to read and write well was irrelevant because I wanted to be the gang leader of the prison system.
So tell me about that. How did you rise to that level and what did it look like and what did it mean?
Well, we'll just use boxing as an analogy since we're on Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
There's what they call the pound for pound best fighter. It's a mythical thing. There's no such stat, but they just say, hey, he's the pound for pound. Like Mike Tyson, when he fought, was considered the pound for pound best champion. When Floyd Mayweather was fighting, he was considered pound for pound best fighter. So it doesn't matter your weight class. That's the pound for pound thing. It's just like, who is literally the best at boxing right now? Not who has the belt, but who's the best. Michael Jordan, the best pound for pound basketball player in his era. And LeBron James, the best pound for pound basketball player in his era. And it changes. So it's not a weight thing. So Sabrina was, Steffi Graf was, you want to do tennis, and just go on and on and on. So in prison, it's the same thing. Who's the top guy? It's all like mythical stuff. It's like, okay, he's the top guy. And it's relative. So you want to be elevated to that place. And you get there by fighting. So you can fight a bunch of bums and be 30-0, but fought all nobodies, and your status won't go up. But you can be 10-0 and fought all tough guys, and your status will be 10 times higher. So it's not just you fought, but who you fought. It's not the situations you got in, but how tough were they? And it's like I'm a swimmer. People don't get that. I don't play basketball, football. I swim. So I watched diving. Mark Spitz was my hero as a kid. So I watched the Olympics with Mark Spitz when he got all his medals in '76. So when I watched diving, because I watched all the pool events, it was always degree of difficulty, not the move, but the degree of difficulty. So in prison, the degree of difficulty matters. So not did you win the fight, what was the degree of difficulty? And that propels your score of your best pound for pound prisoner or whatever. So I went through a lot of tough situations with a high degree of difficulty. And that propelled my name to a status ranking or whatever. It's all made up. For the record, it's all made up. You can go check the boxing history books. There's really no such thing as best pound for pound. That's something made up by journalists. It's something for the time, but it's not real. There's wins and losses, belts and no belts. That's it.
Okay. So it's something for those that are there right in the moment, but nothing else. Nothing else.
No. Usain Bolt is the fastest man alive. That's facts. That's facts. He ran the fastest 100-yard dash of all times, but he's no longer the fastest man alive. He can't run that again.
No, no.
If you put him on track right now, he's not coming anywhere close to that. And there's somebody probably in the college that can beat him technically right now. But for that moment in time, he was the best pound for pound sprinter on the planet. And that's how that works. So you fight enough people, you've been in enough situations, your name rises up. And for that moment in glory, you're that guy.
So right place, right time, and right knockover.
Got to knock out the right guy.
Yeah.
So how about this? Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. Nobody thought Buster Douglas was the greatest fighter ever. You know why? He hadn't beaten anybody prior of note. So even though he beat the champ, nobody saw Buster Douglas as like the real champion. Okay, you got lucky tonight. Go prove it. And his next fight, he got knocked out.
Right.
Which only proved that you got lucky.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody can get lucky one time.
Right. So Buster Douglas, credit for winning, he was never perceived as the best.
Okay. So you made your way up to kingdom in the prison system.
Yeah, I was rumbling. I got kicked out of 9 different states. I've been in solitary confinement for 2.5 years. I've been charged multiple times for trying to kill people. I've been convicted twice of attempted murder in jail. I mean, you name it, I was trying. My mother came to see me in jail. I was in solitary confinement, locked in a basement someplace. She said, "How did you get in jail? I said, "Mom, I'm working hard. This stuff ain't easy." It's not easy.
There's not many that can say they've done this, Mom.
Mom, this is hard work. I thought it was gonna be a lot easier than this, but this is hard work. I mean, you have to really keep pushing. It's like, for what?
Oh, wow. So speaking of your mom, you had a lot of childhood trauma that included her in this family dynamic that you experienced. How were you able to step yourself outside of that trauma or heal from that trauma? And what is that relationship like with your mom now?
I'm going to give you, since I have Genius Network shirt on,
I love it.
I'm going to give you a Joe Polish quote.
Okay.
I've taken this quote and I've elevated it, so I give him credit because he's my guy. You can't read your label if you're inside the jar. So when I see people, I say, listen, Johnny, you are if you could see what I could see, you wouldn't be acting like that. But you will see yourself in the form and the fashion of your trauma. I'm just seeing the ingredients on the label. I pick up the thing, I read the label on the bottle, and there's ingredients here. I can read your ingredients, and your ingredients are clear to me. And you're not acting like your ingredients say. Your ingredients say leader. Your ingredients says father. It says husband. It says honorable. It says dependable. You're acting completely opposite of everything that's on the label of your life. And you can't see the label of your life because you're inside the jar. Please step out and see what I'm seeing. And that's what people did for me. They got me to step out of the jar and see motivational speaker, see Harvard fellow, see great dad, see world traveler, see problem solver, see corporate executive, see corporate advisor. That was all on the label of my life. I just couldn't read it because I was inside the jar. So I don't know what you're going through, but if you let us read the label of your life, we can tell you what you should be striving towards.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so good. So obviously you didn't know this when you went into prison. How many years were you in?
I did a total of 14.
Okay. And when did you realize that this just was not your life? This was not what you were supposed to be doing. And you decided that you wanted something different, something more.
I was 6 years in. I'm in solitary confinement, finished up a 2.5 year sentence to solitary. And I had my epiphany moment. I realized I was a king of nowhere. I'm the best pound for pound fighter that nobody ever heard of or cared about. I would say to the audience, in 1991, 1989, 1990, I was this giant gang leader. I had all the respect on the yard. What does it matter to you? Nothing. Right now, there's a guy in Arizona, there's a guy in Texas, there's a guy in Florida who's the king of the prison. What does it matter to people in society? Nothing. But to him, he thinks he has the most soups under his bed and the most gang members under his belt, that it matters. He's created a fictitious world, and he says he's given credit and labels to stuff that don't matter. So I did the same thing. And somebody helped me see that you're just the king of nowhere. He said to me, Andre, if you're the boss, and right now you believe you're the boss because you control so much, he said, walk out the door. So he said, you want to go home, right? He said, yeah, then walk out the door. If you're the boss, walk out the door, because that's what you want more than anything else. He said, see, you're not the boss. You're pretending to be the boss. And they're allowing you to pretend to be the boss. And you're just going along with the fantasy. Get off the merry-go-round and start working. You're so busy running around the prison, not trying to run out of it. So I stopped trying to run around the prison. I started trying to run out of the prison. So I got the goal of going home and being successful. And that came with going to college. So I picked Harvard University as my destination. So I go home, go to Harvard, be successful. And I got on that path. And I walked it, taught myself how to read, got my GED, went to counseling. I had anger management issues. And I just kept going. I taught myself the law, reversed my case on appeal, and I started designing programs for people in jail, helping people read, helping people learn what they need to do to turn their lives around. And after 14 years, I walked out of prison with my goal still intact.
Wow, that's beautiful. So I am sure that there are a lot of the What Now Tribe listeners that are in difficult places that just really don't know what to do next. And who knows, we might even have some people that are incarcerated that get to have the chance to listen to this. What was the importance of holding yourself accountable as well as setting small goals and you being able to accomplish?
First thing I did is I looked in the mirror because nobody believed going to Harvard was possible for me. That's the first thing. They told me all the reasons I couldn't go. I'm Black. I'm a gang member. I attack people. I sell contraband. I'm from a poor family. I can't read. I dropped out of high school. They told me all the reasons I couldn't go. And these are the things about my friends. If I just said to my friends, let's go kill somebody, they say, cool. Let's go sell some drugs on the yard. They say, cool. Let's go take over one of the units. They say, cool. Let me try to go to Harvard. Oh, no, you can't do that. They were programmed not to want to do better. The worst thing that I did was go to my friend group who were programmed not to want to do better. As soon as I said something outside of doing bad, they couldn't identify. So I went to a GED teacher and I said to her, I want to go to Harvard. She said, oh, that's great, Andre. You can do that. You know why? She's a teacher. Teachers encourage people.
Right.
Then I went to church. I met a rabbi. I said to the rabbi, I want to go to Harvard and be successful. He says, Andre, I believe you can do that if you apply yourself. You know why? Rabbis encourage people. And gang members generally don't encourage people. Drug dealers generally don't encourage people. So stop going to the wrong people looking for encouragement.
Yes, that reminds me of the story of the crabs, right? It's like you put crabs into a pot of water, and if one of them starts trying to crawl out, they're going to all grab them back down and not let them down, right? And they don't want to let someone else get out into a better place. They don't want that breakthrough.
This is the second thing I'll tell you about the crab story.
Go, baby.
You turn the pot on real low and just leave it.
Yep.
Then they all just all die together.
Yes.
And then get eaten.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's good. So we're eating crab meat, y'all. So you turn the pot on real slow, real low simmer. In about half hour, you have a bunch of ready crabs to eat because they weren't smart enough to get out.
Well, and you know what? That's the story of so many people's lives.
Stop sitting in the pot.
Right. Stop hanging out with the people that don't encourage you to do something different. If you get excited about something, have an idea, and you take it to somebody, it's like, oh, well, I don't know about that. You should really think about that again. I don't think that that's something you should do. Then you should probably start looking for other people to share your goals and dreams with.
Look, when I turned my life around, I got that stuff under control. I came home. One of the first places I went was my old high school. And when I got there, Mr. Solis, Miss Lane, Mr. Henderson, all my teachers from when I was there were still working there. You know why? Teaching is a 30-year career. I didn't do 30 years. I did 14. So when I came back, most of my teachers were still in the same building. And they were so happy to get a second chance to help me. They were upset that they couldn't save me the first time. Most of us who are running around right now, I can almost guarantee you, if you go back to your old high school, somebody's there that knows you. Now I'm 54, so my high school's kind of flipped. There's like one or two people still there. Literally, I'm 54. And there's still one or two teachers who are still at my high school that were there when I was there.
Wow.
Back in the 80s. Still there. 30, 35 years into the game, teaching kids, they're there. And they would love to see you.
Yeah, it's their passion.
And they're going to encourage you. I mean, I went back to my mom's church. The pastors were there. The choir ladies were there. They loved the fact that I was trying to do something. Stop trying to convince people who are stuck on how you should get unstuck.
Yes.
I walked around prison. I was going to the parole board. I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here. So I went to everybody I knew in the prison who had gone to parole and made it. I said, yo, Johnny, what did you say to the parole board to get out of here? I went to the next one. Yo, Stevie, what did you say? And nobody would tell me an answer. They were kind of scared. So nobody really gave me good answers. I went to the parole board. I didn't get it, but I got my insight on what I should have said and could have said and how. I went back the next time I got it. The one thing that I realized was I was asking parole failures on how to succeed. Because everybody who had parole that I could actually look at had failed at it.
Because they were still in prison.
They were back in prison, not still back. They made parole, went home, and came back.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm asking them, how do I get out and do good? I only had access to parole failures. So I didn't make the connection that these are the wrong persons to be asking.
Yeah.
But they're the only ones available to me. So I went with what was available, which was a bad setup.
Yeah, really was.
Stop asking failures on how to succeed.
Yeah, and stop asking broke people how to make money.
Please, please.
It's just a matter of just thinking about it a little different. Go to people that have what you want. Ask them the questions.
I've never gotten off the highway, seen a guy begging for change and asked for like financial advice.
Right. That's probably a good idea.
So stop asking people who are struggling. I'm saying, unless you want to know their struggle, how you survive in your struggle is different than how do you get a Ferrari or Mercedes Benz? How do I start a business? How do I make my kid really tune into me? But one of the drivers, I've been home for 22 years now. And I tell people when I talk to them, for 14 years, my mother couldn't say my name with pride. For 14 years, my mother would go to work. And in case you don't know, what women do is they talk about their kids. My mom would go to work, and during the breaks, they talk about their kids. Oh, my kid just graduated high school. He's going to college. My kid's going into service, and he got a job. Where's your kid, Cheryl? Oh, he's in jail. Fast forward to church. After church, they have your little meeting and greets, and they're doing the coffees and cookies. And my kid just got married. My kid just graduated. My kid's going off to here. Where's your kid, Cheryl? Oh, he's in Salt Lake City. Family events, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, her sisters and brothers, all hanging around, marriage, babies, husbands, wives, and all the rest of that. And they're looking at my mom like, where's your boy at? Oh, he's in Salt Lake City. Couldn't say my name. Anytime my name would come up, it was like disrespectful because it was like a weight. He's a wet blanket on everything. I asked my mom where I'm at now. She said, oh, he's out in Phoenix, Arizona, and try to encourage the tribe on how to level up and be better. Where was he 2 hours ago? He was at the world's biggest reentry center, walking through, sharing his insights of 22 years on how to make that center better to help more people. Where was he at yesterday? Oh, he was at Genius Network, the number one mastermind group in the world, teaching and sharing and helping people do and be better. Where's he going to be tomorrow? I don't know, but I can tell you someplace positive, trying to help somebody.
Yes.
For the rest of my mother's days, she'll never be embarrassed to say my name.
What a change that is. That's a pure 180. And it all started with you making a decision that it's like enough's enough.
She made a decision not to give up on me when she was pregnant. So of all the beef, and I had a lot of beef and trauma and drama with mom and things I didn't like and all the rest of that, like we all have at some levels.
Absolutely.
I compare all the things that I didn't get or she didn't do compared to the one thing that she did. Give me life. Did she have all the tools, all the access? No. She gave me life, and she got me to a point where I can take care of myself. That's better than not being. So if I had to choose between giving me life and giving me a chance or giving up on me, I'd take the shot.
What a beautiful way to look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And, in all reality, each one of us were given exactly what we needed to be able to do what we need to do to be who we're supposed to be by being born.
I wouldn't complain if Bill Gates was my dad.
Well, yeah, right. I know.
For the record.
Well, yeah, but then
I'd have worked with that. Warren Buffett.
You know what, though, Andre, you would have had a whole new set of problems.
I'd have taken him. I'd have tried to. Listen, I would try out being Warren Buffett's grandson. I'm going to try that. Listen, I'll try that life.
Right. You know what? I would too. I really would. I think I could handle the issues. Right. I could handle it.
I don't know if I could handle it. Listen, rich people's kids do really expensive drugs.
Oh, true. True that. So I'd like for you to take a second and just think about if you could go back to Andre at the age of 11, 12, before he really started getting hit by the negativity and the, being demeaned and told he's not good enough because he doesn't have certain things, or before he was introduced to selling drugs, what would you share with him?
If I can get 10-year-old Andre, I would have him go to his father and demand to be taken to football practice. There's a lot of buy me a boat, give me a house, give me another family. I'm cool. I'm poor. We're poor. We live in the hood. It is what it is. You're not with us. We're not going to make the nuclear family just to make this example. I would say, Dad, you really need to take me to football practice and drop me off with the coaches. Because once time, my dad took me with him to football practice. There's a bunch of kids playing Pop Warner football. I was so excited. I love playing. I want to play football. My dad walked out and he came back. He got in the car. I said, we're not playing football? He said, no, I just came to pick up something. And I was like, okay. And we drove off. Fast forward 20, 30 years. My son is 6 years old. It's the #1 football program in the city. I take my son to the same park, let him go try out for the team. I'm sitting in the car while he's trying out. And when I'm sitting in the car, it dawned on me, this is the exact same parking lot that I sat with my dad when I was 10 years old. And all he had to do was drop me off. I literally lived within walking distance of that park. So I could have literally walked to the park on my own, and the coaches would do the rest. That's what coaches do. They just need kids. My father never thought to sign me up. Had he signed me up, I'd have been one of the greatest middle linebackers of all time. And I'd have played football. And it'd have been a great life. And it would have got me through what I was dealing with, what I ended up doing to get through, to get by. So if I could go back, I would demand that my 11-year-old self go to my dad and be like, no, we're doing football. Let's do football. And that's one. And that football would have gave me a purpose or a passion. If I had to go back to 14-year-old Andre, or even 10-year-old, when I started playing the trumpet, which became my thing since I didn't play football, I would say, have somebody come and support me in that. I played just because I played, not because I knew anything about it. I never heard of Miles Davis or Dizzy Gillespie. I never heard of John Coltrane. I never heard of the Marcellus Brothers. I didn't know anything about anything. I just played it because the teacher gave it to me, and I got good at it, and she recognized that. But Miss Ellis gave me the trumpet. What I needed from my dad or whoever was the encouragement and support that I was doing the right thing. I was never encouraged that this is the right thing to do. So I gave it up so easily because I just did it. It was no big deal. So if I could, those are two things that I think would have propelled me beyond prison. And if I couldn't do something external and getting someone to help me, I would say to 11-year-old Andre, find your favorite teacher and ask for help. My favorite teacher wanted to help me. I wish I could tell you nobody cared. I was a rotten kid. I was a rotten city. Teachers tried. Mr. Bevilacqua, Miss Tien, Mr. Sheehan, Mr. McDonald, Miss Lynn, Miss Lane, Miss Henderson. You say Miss Morris, my music teacher. I can go down the list of almost every single teacher who, Mr. Duvall, my 9th grade drafting teacher, who took me rock climbing. I can tell you almost every teacher who tried. I wasn't able to hear them. And had I been able to hear them, I'd have had a dramatically different life. Yeah. So trusting people who weren't family was a lesson I didn't get. And trusting family was a bad lesson.
Well, and that's the thing, is that you had that foundation that was laid, that you couldn't trust anybody but yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's understandable, but those are great things that you would have said to yourself. And I would even say that anybody that's listening right now, if you're going through something similar, or you are just in a spot where you feel stuck, do the same thing. Go and find somebody that has shown, belief in you in the past, whether it was a small belief or they tried to help you in any way, and go and talk to them, because they'll have something to share with you that will give you something that you need right now. Some promise, some hope, support, like Andre was just mentioning.
The cool thing is, with the internet, you can find a podcast on basket weaving. You can find a community of people who like to bike. You can find communities, almost anything on the internet now. You can join a community and never leave your house.
Yes.
So you can join a community, be part of a community of things that you love to do. I loved swimming. I lived in a Black neighborhood. People weren't swimmers. So swimming was like, I was on my own. Nobody wanted to talk to me about swimming. So that was my thing. I didn't play basketball. Didn't get a chance to play football. But I went swimming every summer because my grandmother had a house by a beach. So I grew up swimming. and nobody in my friend group swam. So I gave it up, or didn't do it as often as I wanted to because no one really wanted to do it. So now, if I was a swimmer, even if I couldn't swim, I go on the internet. I can watch videos of people swimming. I watch the swim meets. I watch the track. I watch all the stuff I love online, and I join communities. Genius Network. I love marketing. I love advertising. I love smart people who like to figure out problems. That's what Genius Network is. So I sit in a building with 300-400 people who want to figure out problems. That's, to me, is fun.
Yes.
I mean, I don't like creating problems. I like solving them. So to sit in a room full of problem solvers is phenomenal. I love, like Mike Burnoff is my guy. I was with him yesterday. Problem solving. Me and Mike could sit for hours and just talk. And I met Mike because I was trying to solve a problem and he had a problem to solve. And we just started talking about that. And here we are 4 years later, still great friends.
And that's what I was talking about, of getting yourself in, community with people that even are a level above you or a couple levels above you, because that's how you grow.
There are no levels.
Yeah.
It's just people.
Yeah. But you can be in there and be the fly on the wall and not necessarily know what people are talking about.
Just show up.
Yeah. And it'll rub off.
I'm driving over here. They're like, I told them, I was talking about, where you going? To a podcast. Where? I don't know. Just put in the GPS, go. That's it. Well, why are you going to do a podcast when you don't know? You know how I got here? This is exactly how I got here. 4.5 years ago, I'm at home. My phone rings. Somebody says, hey, Andre, my name is, I want you to come on my podcast. I said, cool. This is before Zoom and before the pandemic. I said, okay. She said, we'll set up the Zoom. It wasn't the Zoom. It was Skype. We'll do a Skype interview and I got you and we're good. I said, what Skype? I'm not a tech person. I said, where are you at? So I'm in Phoenix. I said, how come I just don't come to Phoenix? They said, you're going to fly all the way to Phoenix to do an interview. We can do it online. It's just simple. I said, it's as simple for me to get on a plane. I said, I'll tell you what, if you're going to interview me, I'm going to show up. So I flew to Phoenix. I met the lady. We went out to dinner the night before. Me, her, my buddy had a restaurant. And I said, oh, by the way, how did you find me? She said, oh, John Rulin sent out an email blast. I saw it. You were interesting, so I called you. So I made a video. Hey, John, what's up? I'm here with your people about to do a podcast. I sent him the video. My phone rings 10 seconds later. Dre, I don't know that lady. What are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He said, she's on my email list. I don't know her. I was like, what's an email list? And he's like, you really flew all the way to Phoenix to do a podcast? I said, yeah. He said, well, since you're there, I'm going to call him out and introduce you to some people. And one of the people was Michael Burnoff. He didn't even know Mike. They knew of each other. They were on like a quarterly call, whatever. So Mike calls me and says, hey, Andre, this guy I halfway know gave me your information, wanted me to meet with you. I just called out of courtesy to tell you I'm super busy. I'm in the process of launching my building and my business. Maybe I can catch you on the next time. I said, no problem, brother. I understand completely. And before we hung up, I said, question. He said, what's that? I said, is there anybody here that I can help? He says, what do you mean? I said, I do crisis intervention. And he was like, okay, my wife's best friend, son, is in crisis. He's going through all kinds of madness. I said, let's make it happen. So I jumped in the car. I drove to Mike's house, met the wife and the kids. And me and him got in the car. We drove to the kid's house. Mother's crying because the kid's just on edge. I take the kid, come on, let's go. We go sit down, 20, 30 minutes. He comes in. He apologizes to his sister for being mean. He apologizes to his mother for being out of control. He says, let's go to treatment. Wow. And Mike was like,
what the heck?
Phenomenal. He was like, I didn't see that coming. But I'm like, this is what I do, interventions. Then he introduced me to Joe Polish. He said, this is a guy you got to meet. So he took me over. I met Joe, and me and Joe connected. And me, Mike, and Joe have been connected ever since. But the point of the story is, when I got on the phone with Michael and he said he couldn't meet me, I could have been like, okay, no problem. If I'm looking for opportunity to leverage up or make money or to make connections, I'd have been like, oh, this ain't a connection. He's busy. I'm gone. I'm going to get to the next one. I said, who can I help?
Yes.
That's how I'm sitting here today, because I offered to help somebody with no expectations of receiving. And then I actually showed up and helped that person with no expectations of receiving. I just want to see people do and be better.
Yes.
I want to see this little 15-year-old kid in the prison of his life. I don't see the mom in the prison of watching their son be tortured by whatever he's going through. I don't want to see Mike and Deborah be tortured by their friend going through it and they know the kid. So we freed a lot of people that day.
Yeah.
And as a result, I gave to freely, and freely the world gave back. And 4.5 years later, I'm still here in Phoenix. I'm still rocking with Mike and Human Institute. I'm still rocking with Joe Polish and Genius Network. Now I'm sitting here with you, rocking with your tribe.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
when you call me, this is a lot shorter flight than Atlanta. I'm already here. So if I
Right?
fly from Atlanta to Phoenix for a podcast, I'll show enough drive 45 minutes for a podcast.
Yeah, even on the Phoenix streets. They're kind of interesting, definitely. But I love that story because it's all about, first of all, making the connections, being willing to show up and be there and not caring that, hey, this person really wasn't, I came because I thought I could add value. Somebody asked me and I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If
beautiful.
you can't be helpful, what's the point of being here?
Yeah, exactly. And then came full circle when Mike Peag, connected me with Mike Burnoff, and now they've connected me with you. So I am so glad to be able to connect you with the tribe. So share with me what gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning. What is your passion? How are you sharing hope and purpose to the world?
What's exciting for me when I get up, like most people, my kid, I have a 16-year-old son who's like super fun, super athletic, super entertaining, super intelligent, super problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So he's all the above that 16-year-olds are. So that for me is inspiring because I'm watching his life and it's life so different from mine. He's traveled over 30 countries. He speaks 3 languages. He goes to a private school in London. He skis in Switzerland. He's taking trips to all over the places. He's a phenomenal kid. He rugby, golf, swims. He does it all. And I'm like, wow, just watching this life. And one generation prior being me, it was the complete opposite. And I tell people, in my family, I was the first generation to be born in a hospital. Prior to me, all my uncles, aunts, father, grandparents, all born at home against the law for Blacks to be born in a hospital.
Hmm.
So I'm the first generation to be born in a hospital with doctors and nurses and the rest of that stuff. And so it's not that far removed from my father to myself, now to my son, and to see him to grow up without the feelings of hurt or neglect or less than-ness or just, it's not a perfect world. It's still unsafe for Black people on certain occasions and certain times, but he's living his life. He doesn't know the boundaries that I had. There's no the boundaries that existed, not just for me. There was boundaries for white people too. It was just boundaries. And we were locked into this segregated world without any space. So if you're in the South and you see the colored only fountain, you're white, you can't drink out of that. You can't be about equality and walk over and drink out of that fountain. It's not going to work. Colored only bathrooms. You couldn't walk into a white bathroom or a Black bathroom if you weren't that. So he doesn't see that. He doesn't have to deal with that. And I just believe that the world is moving towards and in a better space. We couldn't have done this when I was kids. Me and you couldn't sit here,
in the same
white,
space,
Black, and do this in the same space. You're like, you bring a whole Black kid to your house to do what?
I know, right?
Flipped out.
Yeah.
It just wasn't acceptable. It wasn't something that was done. I can't remember visiting any of my white friends during elementary, middle school, or high school to their houses. Towards the end of high school, senior year, I visited a couple I met out of state. But for the most part, it was just like you're locked in your bubble, we're locked in our bubble, and we were bubble kids. And bubble doesn't mean doing well. This means you're locked into your space. So to have the flexibility to fly around the world, to drive around Phoenix or to drive around Arizona or any state and just feel like I can do this. I can actually do this. I mean, it doesn't mean there's not a cop out there that won't pull me over just because, but that's okay. I mean, that's just part and parcel of where we're going versus where we were. And I'm just loving the journey. I remember a few years ago, when George Floyd died. Every white friend I had called me. They wanted to know how they could be helpful, what they could do to be better, how can they impact stuff. And I didn't know it was that bad. And companies, I know a lot of CEOs were calling me, how does this impact their company? How does a company make a stand? How do they make a drive to make equality better actually happen? And everybody just wants to send money to some anonymous fund. How do we actually connect with people? And that's what I've been doing for like a year and a half. I helped every friend I had who called me and said, hey, Dre, we want to make a difference. We want to chime in now. And I know a lot of folks were like, yo, white people are on the run because it's upside down. It's our turn. And we're going to leverage this over them and we're going to whatever. I'm like, dude, we've been waiting 400 years for this phone to ring. Now you want to play games. We've been waiting 400 years for this phone to ring and for white folks to say, we want to make it better. And now you want to play games about who won up. Nah, I ain't got time for one. Call me. Don't call them people. Call me, and I'm going to give you all the answers, insights, and information you need to grow. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to throw rocks at you. I'm not going to make you feel bad because you asked me what you seem like a insensitive question. Ask the questions. Ask the questions, because it took 400 years to get it.
Yes.
It'd be a shame for people who have the information, being Black folks, to not share it. To just take this information and try to leverage it over folks' head. They're like, we're going to hold up a hand now and make you feel bad because you should have known. I got time for shoulda, coulda, woulda. I want this to be a better world that my son can live in, that my grandkids will come to. And anybody who wants information on being better, I will walk through the painful questions, the dumb questions, the hard questions with you, because that's what's required. And I told anybody who I knew, Black folks, answer the damn phone.
Yes.
Stop playing games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that just made me think of back when we were teenagers and we were like wishing that person would call us, right? Boy, girl, whoever it was that we wish would have called us. And when we finally get that call, us hanging up. Oh my goodness, what is that? Oh, hello, everybody. So it looks like I'll be doing a little bit of editing there, but the people that are on YouTube are going to get the fun of that little ding dong there. Oh, goodness. I have to do my investing education. That's what the reminder was.
Okay.
But talking about, always wanting something to happen. And then when it finally does, it's like we want to hang up on it instead of taking advantage of the circumstances and furthering the conversation.
Stupidity.
Yes.
Stupidity is selfishness.
Yes.
You can help people or you cannot. I'm in the business of helping people. I'll tell you the truth. I started out helping Black people. I only work with young Black boys because it's what I understood and what I was comfortable with. And somebody asked me to talk to young girls who are locked up. I wasn't comfortable, but I went and I got comfortable. They asked me to talk to white kids. I'm like, for what? I don't know about being a white kid, but I went. I was uncomfortable, so I got comfortable. They asked me to talk to professors. I went. They asked me to talk to people in foreign countries. I went. So as long as you're comfortable, you're not growing.
No. Agreed.
I mean, you can do the oak tree. The shell has to explode in the ground for the tree to grow. You put a seed in the ground, it has to explode and break apart. A caterpillar has to break apart. Everything has to break to go forward. So I just believe that I don't want to help half the people because you're gonna have to deal with them anyways. I help everybody because for it to be a balanced world as we can, if people wake up with the mindset of, I want to help people. Okay, yeah, I don't know everything. I did an interview about a month ago, and lady walked in, sat down, said her name, and she told me her pronouns, she, they. I said, what does that mean? I'd never heard anybody say that to me, that these are my pronouns. Then she explained to me what the pronouns meant and where they came from. And then she said, in the queer community, and I said, whoa, that was a bad word. She said, it's not a bad word. It was a bad word the way you were using it, but it wasn't a bad word. And then she, for 45 minutes, answered every dumb question, insensitive question, backwards question that I had. And I walked out educated. She could have said, I'm not answering these questions. You should know. But how would I know? I don't have any friends in this space. I don't have anybody around me in this space who lives this life. And by having that conversation with her, I got a chance to ask all the questions that I would have as a me. And she answered them. It wasn't trying to be insensitive. I was trying to learn.
Yes.
And because I was trying to learn, she had no problem answering the questions. When somebody's just trying to clown you, they don't want to answer questions. It wasn't a funny thing. I wasn't trying to get ratings. I really wanted to know.
And it was a true partnership on both sides, because I'm sure that she really wanted you to understand too.
Definitely.
And so you asking those questions, such a beautiful way to be able to get that education for both of you on both sides.
I couldn't come up with pronouns for me at the end of the day. I mean, because it's complicated. It's not as simple as you think it is. It's complicated. So there's multiple people can claim multiple pronouns. So I'm like, I didn't want to claim a pronoun that somebody else could claim that I didn't line up with. So I'm like, okay, if you can claim a pronoun, I can claim a pronoun. You're a white female, I'm a Black man, and we should have the same pronoun in my mind. But it's possible in that world that you can have a pronoun to somebody completely different than you. And it's like it's a whole, I didn't progress that fast, but I understood. And so my pronoun is he.
There you go. And mine is she.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am sure that there are people that are listening and they see the impact that you have made on communities around the world. What would you say to people that are wondering, it's like, what could I do? What small step could someone make to start making a difference in their own community?
I would say exercise your mind, which is not a small step.
No, it's not.
A small step is something, don't try for small, try for giant, try for gigantic, try for huge. Small is too simple. We're not simple people, and this tribe is people who are about their business. So
Yes.
I like working with entrepreneurs. You know why? They get stuff done. So if you want to make a difference, think of a space. Is it education? Is it athletics? Is it health? Is it science? What is the area first? Find something that you're interested in because you won't get tired of it. Don't do it because it's the latest fad. Oh, we're going to do homeless kids, or we're going to do human trafficking, or we're going to do soccer moms. I mean, find something that you love. And then if it's engagement, if it's informational systems, if it's building courses, if it's teaching classes, if it's jogging, whatever your thing is, there's somebody you can teach through that vehicle on how to be better. So some people teach leadership through chess, through basketball, through art, through gymnastics, through anything. You can teach through any medium how somebody can be better. But teach a medium that you love, because you'll never get tired. You know it backwards and forwards. You'll need to do a whole bunch of studying because you know it. I teach through my life experiences, which means I never have to study.
Yes.
I just have to remember.
Yes, that's
So
good.
do that, and don't follow the crowd. Follow your heart, because my mentors, I judge them by caring, capacity, consistency, and character. I don't measure you by color. So those things matter. The things that matter, not the things that people say. The things that matter to me as a mentee is, do you care about me? Are you going to be consistent? Are you a person of character? I'm saying, are you a person with capacity to handle my stuff? I'm saying, are you just somebody who looks like me?
And are you going to show up?
Consistency is showing up.
Yeah, most definitely.
So
Love that.
if you want to do something, call in on the line, call the hotline, the 1-800 number, and we'll walk you through. You don't have to do it that's the whole point of this podcast. You don't have to do it alone. You're in the tribe, you're on your line. We should get an email from you. We should get a DM from you, however you want to do this. Do a snail mail. I don't care. Hit us up and just ask the question. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm thinking. How do I process this?
Yes.
And we will help you process. You don't have to do it alone. The more you try to do it by yourself, the more likely you're going to fail at it.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for that. So how can people follow you or get connected with you?
You can drive behind me. I'll be on I-17.
Yeah, he'll be going bumper to bumper traffic
I'll be
here
bumping
in a little bit.
trying to get back. My website is andrenorman.com. My Instagram is @AndreNorman. My LinkedIn is Andre Norman. My Facebook is Andre Norman, I think, .21. And my YouTube is Andre Norman.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, you go to Google, put in Andre Norman, YouTube. I mean, that pop up.
You know what? I think that they could probably even search the Ambassador of Hope.
I always forget to promote my book. If you go to Amazon and put in Andre Norman, my book will pop up. And
I've got mine on the way.
Yeah, if you read the book and don't like it, holler at me, I'll give you money back.
I don't think that happens very often.
I haven't got any returns yet.
No. So quick question here about your trumpet. Did you ever return to that?
My trumpet. I give the trumpet story. People love the trumpet story. And I've had a group buy me a trumpet probably like 8 years ago. They bought me the trumpet. Either they bought it or I bought it. First time I think I bought it. They just talked to me about it. And I bought a trumpet. I brought it home. My son doesn't live with me. He came for the summer and he came in the house. The trumpet was on the couch. He said, "Is that for me?" He ran over and he grabbed it. So I was like, okay, yeah, it's for you, kid. So he took the trumpet, he played it twice, and it's been on his shelf ever since. And I wasn't mad because I didn't really want to play it. And I gave a speech in New York at the EO Albany group. Shout out to EO Albany. And they came after me after and said, "Dre, you have to play the trumpet again." They ordered a trumpet and shipped it to my house. And it's not as easy playing the trumpet as you might think. It's not like the guitar. You got to actually practice. So I took the trumpet. It sits like you have all this wonderful stuff in the background. My trumpet sits in the background of my podcast room.
Well, you know what, though? That is just kind of an example of having a dream that disappears, but then gets replaced with a bigger dream
Yes.
because you have the passion, you have the dreams, you have the vision that you're going after. The trumpet is just a symbol.
It is now.
Yes.
I'm not playing the trumpet anymore.
That's okay. That's
So,
okay.
I made it to Harvard. I made it to the White House. I made it to London Business School. My son's on the way to Stanford or Columbia. I don't have a lot of complaints. I got a lot of good friends. I just got a couple new ones. Coco's out there. Shout out to Coco.
Yeah.
The dog doesn't listen to podcasts, but shout out to Coco anyways. And
she loves Andre. Who doesn't though now, right? Andre, you just bring love with you. How can people not just accept you? And how can you not be that ambassador? It's who you are.
I say to people, if you're home listening to this right now, you're riding in your car, oh, this is a great story. This is a great whatever. My thing to you is if you're going through it with yourself or spouse or somebody you're dating, and worse yet, if one of your kids are going through it, because drugs are real, depression is real, life is hard for 15, no matter where you live and what you look like, call us. Call us. You don't have to go through this by yourself. I flew to Montana one time for one 16-year-old girl who tried to kill herself.
Wow.
I flew to Salt Lake City. I go to Scottsdale. I go to West Compton. It doesn't matter. If you are going through it, the point of this podcast isn't to entertain you. It's to tell you that there's help available to you.
Yes.
And that you're not in this by yourself. You turn this podcast on because you're not by yourself. And there's a tribe. We've been saying tribe all day.
Yes.
And you might want to go study the concept of tribe.
Yes.
But this is a tribe and it cares. When one hurts, we all hurt. Yes. So if you're going through it, don't do it alone. It's not required. It's not necessary. It's not brave. It's not pride. Ask for help and let us have the opportunity to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Andre, you have been amazing. And I so appreciate the way you show up because you showed up. You came to the house at my front door and I'm about ready to get you kicking you out of here. But just kidding. You could stay all night, but we could probably have a lot to talk about. But I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing your heart. I want you to thank you for bringing your vulnerability and willingness to share your story and your victory, the way that just making that choice was able to change everything about your life. And now the passion that you have to help others do the same. It's honorable. So thank you so much for that. And by the way, everybody, the title of Andre's episode is You're a Prisoner Turned Professor, because not only did he get that GED, not only did he go to Harvard, but he graduated as a professor.
Tufts University, counted in the books. That was one of the things.
Huge. That's a big deal, man. That's freaking awesome.
You know something? Life, everything I've been through is a lesson for somebody else. So, Dre, why aren't you excited about it? Because it wasn't for me. I mean, the things that happened to me weren't for me. They were for somebody else. So I don't know who needed to see me at Harvard or who needed to see me at Tufts or who needed to see me at Genius or Human Institute, who needed to see me in traffic today. Why is that guy so happy? Why is he smiling? Why is he playing that music? So like I play music with my windows down and people pull up next to me. If you're miserable, you're gonna hit the Temptations, you're gonna have to smile. You're gonna stop bopping your head. So you can minister and reach out to people all kinds of things.
Yes.
Your presence is invaluable. So show up, show out, and inspire.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much for being my amazing guest today. I truly appreciate you. And thanks, guys, for listening to this episode of the Your Blank What Now podcast. I really hope that you will actually listen to this episode more than once, because there's a lot of hidden things in here that can truly help you on the journey that you're on right now. Whether you're feeling stuck or have lost hope, there's always a way to get out of it. And Andre just showed you some beautiful ways to get started.
Part 2 will teach them how to make money.
Hey, sounds good to me, baby.
We do numbers now. We do numbers.
I love it.
If we can go from the basement of the prison to London Business School and Harvard, with very little support and money and help, where can they go with all the support and help that's available to them now?
Yeah. Okay. So where am I flying next to hang out with you? Where are Dondi and I coming?
I'll send you a ticket. Let's roll.
Yeah, we would love to hang out with you more. So thank you so much for being here today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the tribe.
Yeah.
I don't do we call it jazz hands.
Right.
I watched the movie.